For the last few weeks, we've been hop, skip, and jumping our way through the Gospel of Luke. And while that's certainly allowed us to cover a fair bit of territory in a fairly short period of time, there's also a very real downside to doing it the way we have. And that downside becomes obvious when you realize that what Luke is doing with his Gospel is he's building a case, much like a trial lawyer would. The case for who Jesus is. And just like any other case, Luke's case is built by adding evidence to evidence, detail to detail. And the problem is that by skipping over some passages, we actually miss out on some of that evidence. And as anyone who's ever been involved with a court case would know, it is pretty hard to reach the right verdict when you're missing some of the crucial pieces of evidence. So before we get to this morning's passage, I want to bring you up to speed on some of what we've skipped over. Last week, of course, Peter made the discovery that when he was in the presence of Jesus, he was also in the presence of the power and the holiness of God. Peter, even at that moment, calls Jesus Lord, a word that up until that point, Luke had only ever used to describe God. It is a passage that's meant to make us think, so who is this really? Then in the next passage, Jesus heals a leper. But more than that, Jesus makes him clean. And for Luke, that is the much bigger deal. Now, this kind of clean that Luke is writing about didn't have anything to do with whether or not you had showered that particular morning or not. It was a ritual thing. In order to emphasize God's holiness, the law of Moses specified a whole host of conditions under which people could not enter the temple of God. Conditions that made them unclean. And having a skin disease was one of those. But in this passage, Jesus demonstrates that he is the one who can eliminate all of those barriers. In John 15:13, Jesus says to his own disciples, "You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you." What Luke wants us to know, the piece of evidence he wants us to see, is not the healing of the leprosy, but that Jesus is the one who can make people clean, so that they can truly become a part of the worshiping community once again. But it's also important for us to see that in doing so, Jesus also honors the law of God. He works within it. Having made the leper clean, Jesus sends the now former leper off to show himself to the priest for confirmation and in order to offer the appropriate sacrifice to God. Jesus honors the law. The same law which, in another place, he says he's come to fulfill, but not destroy. And that's an important point for us to remember as you and I wrestle with how we hold the Old Testament and the New together as Christians today. Then in the next passage, Jesus heals a man who's paralyzed. And this is that guy who's brought to Jesus by a bunch of his friends who, finding that the house is incredibly crowded, packed, you might say, they actually tear a hole in the roof and lower this guy down in front of Jesus. Here, though, the issue isn't one of cleanness, but neither is it the man's paralysis. He's not really. Yes, the paralysis is healed just as the leprosy was. But the most important part of the interaction, the piece of evidence that Luke wants us to see, is Jesus saying, friend, your sins are forgiven. Now, understandably, that creates an outcry from the scribes and the Pharisees. Hey, wait a minute. Who can forgive sins but God alone? Or as N.T. Wright puts it, who does this guy think he is? And that's exactly the question that Luke is trying to get us to think about. Just who is Jesus? And here, Jesus himself provides some of the answer. He says, so that you may know that the Son of Man has authority to forgive sins, I say to you, stand up and take your bed and go to your home. And the paralyzed man does precisely that. So first of all, we need to see that the miracle is there to prove the authority. The healing demonstrates that Jesus has the clout to forgive. In other words, Jesus not only wields the power of God, he also dispenses the grace of God. A grace that can overcome both uncleanness and sinfulness, the two barriers between humanity and God around which the whole Old Testament book of Leviticus is written. In those two passages, Luke is saying, whatever stands between you and God, Jesus is the one who can deal with it. But here Jesus also calls himself the Son of Man. And in fact, if you tally up the Gospels, you find that this is Jesus' favorite way of referring to himself. What does he mean when he calls himself Son of Man? Well, Son of Man is a figure that shows up in the book of Daniel in chapter 7. There we're told that Daniel saw one like the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. To him was given dominion and glory and kingship, that all peoples, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion that shall not pass away, and his kingship is one that shall never be destroyed. So when Jesus calls himself the Son of Man, he's actually claiming to be that one who would receive dominion and glory and kingship, and that part of that dominion is the divine authority to forgive sins. But there's more to it than that. As I said, this one like the Son of Man will also possess an everlasting dominion and a kingdom that shall never be destroyed. And if you were here back in the fall, as we were looking at the life of David, you may remember that David was promised that one of his descendants would receive the very same thing. His throne will be established forever. So in the unfolding of God's plan for the world, the Son of Man is also the promised descendant of David. In other words, he is the Messiah. And here Jesus is claiming to be all of that and more. Who can forgive sins but God alone? The answer is nobody. But if Jesus claims the authority to do so, what does that mean for who he is? That's where Luke wants our audience to go. And though we're still skipping over some stuff, that brings us to these passages about the Sabbath, God's commanded day of rest. One Sabbath, Jesus and his disciples were out walking through a grain field, and the disciples plucked some heads of grain and rubbed them with their hands to get rid of the husks, and they ate them. Think of it as grabbing some first century fast food. And this would have been fine, except that it was the Sabbath. This was the one day of the week when no work was to be done. In Jewish homes, even the food to be eaten on the Sabbath had to be prepared the day before. Everyone and everything was to come to a halt. And if you have ever been in an Orthodox Jewish community as the Sabbath was beginning, you'll know how quickly the streets simply empty as everyone heads to their homes. But some Pharisees see what Jesus' disciples are doing and they challenge him. Why are you doing what is not permitted, what is not lawful on the Sabbath? And we might think, this is no big deal. Plucking a few heads of grain. And on the surface, Jesus would seem to agree, hey, it's just a snack. But that's not what Jesus actually says. Instead, he says something very specific. He says, have you not read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? He entered the house of God and took and ate the bread of the presence, which it is not lawful for any but the priest to eat, and gave some to his companions. And again, on the surface, that might sound like Jesus is saying, don't get so hung up on the rules. David did what he needed to do. We should be able to do the same. But is that really Jesus' point? In 1 Samuel, where this story about David is told, David actually offered the holy bread by the high priest himself. Commentators on that passage are united in saying that the real point there is that even though he doesn't yet sit on the throne, David is God's anointed king for Israel. The holy bread offered to David and his companions is an expression of God's promise to be with David no matter what he might have to go through on his way to the crown. So Jesus' point here isn't that it's okay for us to do whatever is expedient, or that the Old Testament law can be set aside whenever it becomes inconvenient. In fact, Jesus says nothing of the sort. Rather, again, as N.T. Wright puts it, Jesus' point is that he and his men are in the same position as David and his men had been. They were an exception to the normal rule, and so is he. David was the rightful king of Israel. Samuel had anointed him when he was only a lad, but Saul was still on the throne. At the time of the story, David was leading a ragtag group of followers waiting for the time when his kingship would come true. This speaks volumes about Jesus. And for Luke, this was another crucial piece of evidence for the case about who Jesus is. So Jesus not only wielded the power of God as evidenced by the miraculous catch of fish, or manifested the holiness of God as we saw from Peter's reaction to Jesus last week. And he not only dispensed the grace of God, healing the unclean leper and forgiving the paralyzed man, Jesus also claimed to be the promised Son of Man of Daniel, the one who would rule eternally. And here, like David in his time, he claims to be the unrecognized King of Israel, awaiting his moment. And then Jesus takes it even further by saying the Son of Man, there's that claim again, is Lord of the Sabbath. What does that mean? Two things. First, just as Jesus had claimed to have the authority to be the here on earth sin forgiver, so here he claims the authority to be the one and only legitimate commandment interpreter. Do you want to know what the law about the Sabbath really means? Then the Son of Man is the one you need to ask. Why is the Son of Man the command interpreter? Luke would say, well, that's a question well worth thinking about. And then we come to this part about Jesus healing the man with the withered hand. And again, the scribes and the Pharisees are watching. They at least have started to put together some of the implications of what Jesus has been claiming and doing. But rather than actually considering the evidence, they're convinced that Jesus is actually guilty of perjury, of lying on the stand, and they're looking for a way to expose him as a fraud. But as Lord of the Sabbath, Jesus again does nothing to suggest that the law can be ignored. In fact, he does nothing that can actually be considered a violation of the law, but he does reframe the question. The Pharisees and the others over the years had developed this complicated system of regulations to ensure that the Sabbath was properly observed and protected, how far one could walk, how heavy an object one could pick up. But Jesus approached the Sabbath differently. Instead of asking, what can't you do on the Sabbath? Jesus was more concerned with the question, what can you do? What will you do? What should you do? What is the Sabbath really for? And his answer was that the Sabbath was meant to be life-giving. It was meant to bring people closer to God. And as the final piece of evidence for us to consider this morning, Jesus presents himself as the one who determines what that really means. What does it mean to bring people closer to God? Jesus says, I have the answer. Again, we're meant to ask the question, why? Why Jesus? Who is this really? Now, it's not as though at this point Luke is ready to rest his case. There's an awful lot more evidence that he has to share, that he has to tell. But from this point on, the focus of Jesus' ministry begins to suddenly change. His very next action is to choose the 12. Those who will be his apostles, or as Jesus puts it from the final chapter of the Gospel, those who will be his witnesses. Those who will continue to present the evidence about him after his earthly ministry was done. And it's thanks to them that you and I can consider the evidence this morning. It's thanks to them that we have before us the evidence to help us answer that question, who is this really? And it's in answering that question that we find our own call to bear witness, to share the evidence.